Hi, this is James Shug with Westpac London's end of day report for Thursday, October the 13th. We've seen some losses on equity markets right around the Northern Hemisphere today. Not really on the back of any particular economic data. In fact, there wasn't much released in our time zone. We saw trade deficit figures for the US, for Canada and the UK. The US and Canadian ones very little changed, actually very little movement actually in exports or in imports in either of those jurisdictions. The UK numbers showed a narrower trade deficit, but there were quite a few methodological changes and revisions. So I don't think the figures really had much impact. We did see for the third week running a relatively low level of unemployment insurance claims in the US, suggesting that the run-up in claims, which is gives you a feel for what's happening in terms of layoffs in America, that the run-up in claims or layoffs that we saw in the first half of September doesn't seem to have been sustained. So that's a modestly positive indicator of the US labour market. But really, none of that really had much impact. I think the real concerns were related to developments initially in Europe, but also in the US related to the financial sector. We saw Fitch downgrade several of the big UK banks, not because of any real fresh concerns about their balance sheets, merely because the government here is backing away or pulling back its support for the UK banking sector, and so that's seen the ratings agencies, others have already done it, downgrade the UK banks. There's a story out there that even Deutsche Bank could potentially require a fresh injection of capital if really strict stress testing of European banks were to be carried out, reflecting the genuine sorts of losses that banks might be expected to wear if, for example, one or more of the sovereigns were to default on their debt. At the same time, we had the European Central Bank in its monthly report say that it's still stressed that it's important that there should be no compulsion in terms of creditor participation in any default or any debt restructure. There should be no credit event as part of the solution to the European sovereign debt crisis. Given that a lot of the speculation about the next step has involved a bigger creditor haircut, particularly in relation to Greece, that suggests that there's still disagreement at the top in terms of the top institutions in Europe about what the best way to proceed is. We saw the Slovak vote, second vote this week on the European Financial Stability Facility expansion, and they passed it. For domestic political reasons, they didn't pass it the first time on Tuesday night, but it was passed with a huge majority today and instantly became a non-issue. So that means that that July expansion of the EFSF has actually been approved by all 17 Euro member states. In the US, we had JP Morgan report before the market opened. Its earnings, after you take account of a particular counting issue, actually were a bit disappointing, and so that didn't help the US market particularly much today. Okay, so given all of that, we've got at the European market close, the FTSE is down 0.75%, and the French and German markets are both down 1.3%. The Dow Jones in the US is down 1%, and the broader S&P measure down 1.1%. It's currently just going 10 to 6, so still a few hours to go in terms of US trading. On the commodity markets, we've got gold down 1.2%, crude oil's down almost 2% today, copper's down 2.5%, so we're getting some fairly broad-based losses there in commodity markets. The gold price, for those interested, is $1,662 an ounce, and oil's on $83.88 a barrel. Sugar prices, though, are up almost 3% today. And the Aussie dollar down about a cent from its recent high. It's at 1.013 against the US dollar at the moment. All right, that's it. So a bit of a risk-off day today. I think it's the first day in 7 or 8 trading sessions that we've actually seen European markets lose some ground. We've got a relatively quiet day tomorrow. Some US data to watch for on retail sales. But apart from that, just waiting to hear what EU leaders come up with at their next big powwow or talk fest, which is scheduled for October 23 and 24. But I'll be back tomorrow. Bye-bye.